so you're taking your toddler to Walt Disney World. Congratulations! It's gonna be a time. In this video, I'm going to give you my top 5 must-dos with a toddler in one day at Magic Kingdom. If you're new here, hello and welcome. My name is Ginny. I am a certified teacher, doctoral student, and mom of 2 girls. Alice is my 2-year-old and Mina is my 8-month-old, and I am also an annual pass holder at Walt Disney World and visit at least twice a year. Having taken my children before, I know that it can be really overwhelming to try to plan a trip with kids. So I wanted to make this video to kind of give you some tips and tricks for which rides are kind of your must-dos for Magic Kingdom. Now obviously your mileage may vary and you may have different preferences, and that is completely fine, but I do break it down into 3 key criteria areas for why I consider these the best. 1, does it have an interactive line queue? That's really important with a toddler. 2, does it have a horrific wait time? Also really important with a toddler, your child is not going to wait 2 hours to go ride on Seven Dwarfs Mine Train and think it's magical. Number 3, which I think we don't consider enough sometimes, is whether the ride is loud or overly dark. A lot of toddlers can be really afraid of loud or dark rides, and for that reason there are some classics that I adore that I actually leave off of this list because of the fact that they are loud or dark. Before I jump into my 5 suggestions, I did want to mention that all of these have no height requirements, so they are appropriate for all ages of children. So let's jump right into it with my first recommendation, which is the classic Dumbo. Dumbo is a flying ride where you get to ride on Dumbo the flying elephant and you can go up and down. It is appropriate for any age of child, and it is also the first ride that Alice ever went on. What I like about Dumbo too is that the line queue that you go through is actually very interactive. It actually has a literal playground in the middle of the line queue where you can just veer off, let your child run around and play for a little bit before getting back into the line to ride the ride. As far as I know, this is the only ride at Magic Kingdom that actually has something like this, where they can jump out of the line, entertain themselves for a bit, and then jump back into the line. Dumbo's a classic, and in my opinion, it is a must-do as far as going to Magic Kingdom. It's almost like a rite of passage. There's no part of Dumbo that's loud or overly dark, and typically the wait time for Dumbo is not very bad. Recommendation number 2, The Many Adventures of Winnie the Pooh. If your little one is anything like my toddler, they love Winnie the Pooh. This ride is just such a quintessential must-do if your child likes Winnie the Pooh at all. You wind up sitting in a honey pot and riding through and seeing all the different parts of Pooh's journey. There are some momentary pieces that are loud or dark. The Heffalumps and Woozles part in particular could be scary, however, Alice did not seem to react to it, so my 2-year-old at least did not have much of a reaction to that part. It was not scary for her. Something I really love about the Winnie the Pooh ride is while the wait time usually is fairly long, you can expect that, the line queue for it is very interactive. They actually have several different things along the line that allow children to play and touch and be entertained while they're standing in the line. For example, there's this big screen that's there and it's basically dripping honey, and kids can actually swipe their hands across it to reveal the picture. I thought that was super creative, and I love the fact that Disney has something in that line that lets children be entertained considering how long that wait can be. But Winnie the Pooh, if you're willing to wait, it is definitely worth checking out, and like I said, it's got some entertainment in the line. Ride number 3. And I know some of you may disagree with me, but I definitely would suggest hitting It's a Small World. It's a Small World is such a whimsy ride, all the colors, and there's so many different things to look at. It's just a really fun ride for a toddler. The toddler gets to hear a fun song and gets to look at all the different people from different countries, and I really enjoyed actually being able to point things out with Alice that we rode along to see along the ride. She especially loved pointing out the animals. In terms of line queue, Small World is very volatile for wait times. Sometimes it is not bad at all, and sometimes it is absolutely horrific. There's not much going on in the line queue beyond the fact that once you get in the building, you can actually see the boats leaving, so that may entertain your toddler for a little while. However, I would not wait if it's going to be 120 minutes. Usually, if your toddler's anything like mine, they're not going to stand for that. The nice thing about Small World, however, is the fact that there are no overly dark or scary parts to the ride, so you don't really have to worry about your child getting afraid if they are afraid of loud or dark areas. Recommendation number 4 is The Journey of the Little Mermaid. So as far as the Little Mermaid ride goes, the queue is extremely interactive. It actually has all sorts of different neat things to look at. You walk through Ariel's grotto. There's lots of open air spaces, so you're kind of outside for the majority of the line. There's a lot to look at. Essentially, this ride is going through the story of the Little Mermaid. Alice really enjoyed this one, particularly because of the fact that we do listen to a lot of The Little Mermaid at home, because that movie is from my own childhood and it's my favorite one, so we hear a lot of Under the Sea and Part of Your World. As far as wait times go, I find that The Journey of the Little Mermaid usually does not have too bad of a wait time, and like I said, that line queue outside is very interactive. There's lots of things to look at and touch, and so when you're waiting in that line, there's a lot of things for you to do that keeps your little one from getting bored. There are momentary scenes that are dark or scary, but I will say the way that they handled Ursula when she typically gets really big and scary was very toned down. So I felt pretty good about the fact that it was not the scene that's in the movie that is kind of terrifying, admittedly. They really kind of scaled that down. So when Ursula becomes super big, yes, it's in the ride, but it is not nearly as frightening, and Alice was not fazed by it at all. My last recommendation, and I almost hesitate to even give this one, is Peter Pan. So the reason that I hesitate to give this one is because I have never seen the Peter Pan wait below some absolutely ridiculous amount of time. That being said, however, the ride through in the little pirate ships is so whimsical and fun that I would still put it on my list if it's something that you can get to without some horrific wait time. Being able to sail through on the ship while you look down on the different parts is just a lot of fun. Alice loved riding on the ship, and I just feel like it's a ride that if you're able to get on it without waiting for an eternity, you really should do Peter Pan. There are no parts of the ride that are loud or overly dark, so I find that this ride is very kid-friendly as far as that goes. As far as the line queue goes, it is not particularly interactive, and it is a very long line, so that's why it is last on my list of recommendations. However, I do think if you do have the time to do it, it is a great one to do with your little one, because there's just something magical about riding in a flying pirate ship. I did have 2 honorable mentions, and I put them as honorable mentions because one of them kind of overlaps with another suggestion of mine, and the other one is just my personal favorite, and I know that it's not really appealing to a lot of people, but I still want to include it. So my personal favorite that I love, and I loved putting my toddler on even if she was kind of like, meh, whatever, is the People Mover. The People Mover almost always has a very reasonable line. Now there sometimes is a line, I guess it's becoming popular again, but basically you get on this little moving cart and you get to ride through all of Tomorrowland, including going through a couple of the different ride areas. Now there are parts that are dark for this particular ride. I wouldn't call them loud or scary, it's just that you wind up going through Space Mountain, and of course that's dark because it's a dark ride. I love this ride for being able to just kind of sit, relax, and enjoy, and I also love this ride for the fact that you can fit a little more people in one row than a lot of the other rides. My second honorable mention is one that is very similar to Dumbo, and that is Aladdin's Magic Carpets. I would say if you prefer Aladdin over Dumbo, totally fine. I would go do the Magic Carpets instead, especially if you or your children are Aladdin fans. It is basically the same thing as the Dumbo ride. Usually it actually has a slightly shorter wait than Dumbo, so that's another option for you as well. However, considering this is all about one day at Magic Kingdom, I would say pick Dumbo or Aladdin because they're basically the same ride. I hope this was helpful for you in getting an idea of the different things that you could take your toddler on and different considerations to make when you make your plans for visiting Magic Kingdom. I hope you have a wonderful trip, and I will see you next time. Take care!